Welcome into the CHGO Bears Podcast, presented by Factor Meal Kits, live from Radio Row in Las Vegas.
We knew it was going to start with no glitches. We'd be ready to go right at noon.
The energy from you three right now sucks. Pick it up. The Super Bowl is our Super Bowl here.
Let's go, everybody.
The silence there was inexcusable.
Your shirt
is borderline inexcusable.
The energy is up with my attire. Thank you very much.
Yeah, I don't.
Listen.
Okay, look, if you're listening to the podcast, we need to paint the picture. Braggs is dressed like he's going to the club tonight. The rest of us are dressed like we're here to work.
Yeah. I'm dressed like I'm in Vegas and that I have style. You guys are dressed like it's a Wednesday in the Midwest.
You wore
No.
Yeah.
Or
some of us,
or we are a budding media company that's trying to get our logos out in front of the people here in the center of the sports media universe. But, some people just want to look good.
Okay. You definitely bought that shirt at TJ Maxx and or Marshall's.
This is top notch here.
Yeah.
This is Gucci here.
Gucci.
We got Gucci.
Does Gucci make shirts?
I like how you don't know if it's
bullshit.
Gucci.
That's Costco. that is not Gucci. Costco. That's Costco. Welcome, and we're very excited. We're going to be here all week. If you were with us last year at this time, we got a lot lined up for you. Monday through Friday, 5 shows here at CHGO. Our ALLCITY family. We have a lot more going on. We're represented by, I think, 7 different shows. We got 50-plus hours of live content, and that's just the live content because we're going to bring in a ton of bonus content, too. Some interviews that won't even make the show when we go live each day. But we're starting off today with some Caleb Williams conversation. We got Jarrett Payton coming on the show. We're efforting another guest that Braggs is harassing over there and might bring over here in a second.
I'm harassing everybody.
But we do need to welcome our new diehards. Welcome to the family.
Let's go.
Cheers.
During Super Bowl week, we got M-Fish.
Oh, my God. M-Fish. Guy swims upstream and downstream, just gets it done any which way. Who's next? I haven't even looked at these today.
Rodney.
Oh, my God, Rodney. The way that Rodney is respected at home and at the workplace, that's what I love about Rodney.
Jamie.
Just a close friend, somebody you can rely on. Jamie's somebody that when things aren't going well, you call Jamie. Thank you, Jamie.
Carrie
Carrie's had the ups, has had the downs. Got a great jump shot, Carrie, too. A little baseline floater, love it.
Raul.
Oh, my God, Raul. Raul can go deep. Raul's got speed, and
you can do it all, right?
Yes, and if your quarterback gets hurt, he can step in there, too. I love Raul.
Yep.
Zach. Shortstop. Definitely a shortstop.
He's a shortstop.
Can shoot the jump shot, too.
Okay.
My man, Zach, thank you so much for being a diehard.
We got Donald.
I think some people wish you would shortstop this whole charade here.
Donald, he doesn't let himself get overwhelmed by the big shooters. Donald has an incredible sense of belonging. We love you, Donald.
Apparently, every one of our diehards plays sports.
Well,
as an athlete. Yep. Gordon.
Well, Gordon's actually a big bagel and cream cheese guy. Gordon,
you're just seeing things right now.
Gordon likes it toasted most days, but occasionally, if it's real fresh, he doesn't even go toasted. I love Gordon.
This guy's already been in the media meal room 3 times this morning.
Doesn't need it toasted every time, Gordon.
Hey, I don't care. I'm just happy there is one this year. Rich is the guy that's getting multiple trips to Starbucks in a day. Rich will knock you down with a triple espresso in the morning, but they'll top it off with an iced tea type of premium look at about 4 o'clock.
Okay.
And then finally, Jeremy.
Yes, finally.
Jeremy's like the cousin that I've never had. Jeremy, I'm so looking forward to spending Thanksgiving at your house. Thank you for being a diehard.
Your mind and how it works is fascinating.
And this is the week we spend the most time with Carman. We learn all about
today's
who
probably
Carman actually is.
Today's probably the only day that we have a little time to mess around because every day here is just so jam-packed.
I'm sure you're not going to mess around this week.
Well, I'm looking forward to talking about Hoge's piece on Caleb Williams, which he wrote apparently on the plane yesterday.
Well, we're working on it for a long time, but yes, the actual culmination of everything happened on a nice little American Airlines flight to Las Vegas.
You need to dedicate about 10 minutes of your day to read it. It's a thorough read, but if we want to start there, right? We are starting.
Well, real quick, yes.
Yeah.
So shout out to all the diehards that are joining today. We're gonna obviously this show is open to everybody. We're glad you're here. As is the story on Caleb Williams this morning. It is unlocked for everybody to read. However, we are gonna have some exclusive diehard content this week. Diehard overtime. I'm hoping. I don't know if we're going to do it today. We could, but we can get some video going of what it looks like behind the scenes of Radio Row. So
we'll try.
We will do that. And then I've had a lot of people ask about if we're going to have some type of get-together in Vegas this week. And the word on that is we have our own all-city party that diehards are welcome to join on Wednesday night at Circa. We're going to be at the Overhang Bar at Circa Wednesday from 6 to 8 p.m., and everybody there is going to get 2 free beverages.
First 2 drinks right here on us.
On Brandon Spano.
And I'm on Brandon Spano.
Hoge had to clarify there.
I'm coming off dry January, so starting out with very light drinking. So if you befriend me, you come up to me, I will give you one of the 2 drinks that I get for free. So you can.
How shocked are you guys that I haven't had a drink yet since we've been here? It's almost been 24 hours.
Didn't even notice that.
Really?
Yeah.
Good for you, Greg.
I don't know if I believe that, but congratulations if it's true.
All right, yes.
So, okay, Hoge's piece, again, it's a significant read.
It's a topic that nobody has really touched on yet, and that's what's important.
Well, I think, correct me if I'm wrong, but what you sort of set out to do was set the record straight on whether or not Caleb would have a fit if the Bears ended up choosing him number 1 coming to Chicago, and everyone you talk to seems to think that is not the case at all.
Oh, a fit. You worded that weird.
If he would be upset, if he would try to power play his way out, which would be tough to do, but has been done many times before. They do have power, and teams are not going to want to draft somebody who doesn't want to come here.
Right. So, the gist of the story that I've been working on for a while now is to figure out, with all these extracurricular rumors that have been out there about this generational prospect for months now, and honestly, going on just past this season, what's actually true, what's not, right? So everything from the fingernail polish that people get upset about to this idea that obviously got heated late last week when Colin Cowherd said what he had to say on his television show about whether or not Caleb Williams wants to be a Bear. What's true, what's not? Now, ultimately, we're not going to get a concrete answer on that on February 5th, but I've talked to for this story, I talked to a number of different sources. I talked to, teammates that have been around him, coaches that have coached him at multiple different levels to try to understand, okay, even if we don't necessarily know 100% how this is going to play out, him. What do you think, is really behind Caleb Williams? What makes him tick? What drama is really real, or what is this just made up because he's basically turned into a huge celebrity on the sports landscape that's kind of transcending sports already? That was kind of the point of the whole story.
Adam, after doing all this research, talking to all these different people, what did you learn about Caleb Williams after doing all that you didn't know prior to starting this whole entire article here?
Well, I think the biggest takeaway is that it was. I hate wording it this way because I don't want it to be like I was just trying to dig up dirt on the guy, because that's obviously not the point. But the point is, with all the people I talk to, there are not a lot of people that are eager out there to throw dirt on this guy or to criticize him. I mean, he's, by all accounts, well-liked, respected by his teammates, a hard worker, a great teammate, obviously is an outstanding football player. And the only somewhat consistent criticism that ever came up was when things aren't going great in games, he can kind of shut down on the sideline. And of all the things, I think that's something that you want to vet if you're the Bears. You know, how does this guy handle adversity? Is that why USC struggled this year when they faced some adversity and they never really dug out of it? They did end the season on a 3-game losing streak. Like, of all the, you know, the so-called negative things, that's really the only significant one that I think stands out. But in terms of all this other nonsense, you know, one of my favorite explanations I got was this whole thing about him crying in his mother's arms, which never bothered me at all. But it was explained to me very simply as like, look, if you haven't known this already, it's not just Caleb, but the family is very goal-oriented. Mm-hmm. So, and by the way, one of those goals is to be the number 1 pick in the NFL draft. It's a very important goal to keep in mind here. But another one of those goals was to win the Heisman Trophy. Okay, check that box in 2022. So what do you think the biggest box that they wanted to check in 2023, which was to win the national championship? If you remember the context of that game, now, they had already lost 2 games. Their national championship hopes were on life support going into the Washington game. But that was the game where it, like, was official. Like, this is it. You're not winning the national championship. There's no chance now. And the realization of that hit hard. And then also, as Caleb said in his own interviews following that game, not right after the game, but later that week at USC when he was talking to reporters as they were getting ready for, I think it was the Oregon game the following week, whoever they were playing the next week. You know, he said sometimes the mother's touch, just like being in the arms of your mother can, you know, it was a combination of understanding that this goal was not going to be reached and, you know, being hugged by your mom. Can we remember these are human beings? Like,
what's wrong with that? Nothing wrong with that.
If anything, the guy cares too much, right? Like, and you heard that last week when you talked to the running back out of USC. It was like, this guy doesn't want to lose a dodgeball or bubblegum chewing. He's ultra competitive.
And aren't the crazy ultra-competitive best at their sports, aren't they kind of like that, where it's like losing is not acceptable regardless of what you're doing? So, yeah, I think those things that we constantly hear about, those can looked at being negatively. When you think about it, and think about some of the greatest athletes in their respective sports, I mean, they're all kind of wired that way.
The crying thing's always been ridiculous to me. He's allowed to have feelings. So are you. Have an emotion. It's good for you. I'm glad that he can touch both ranges. Let him show the joy and be excited. Let him have a tear. He'll move through it. He'll be fine. What I thought was interesting, I mean, Hoge, you covered a ton of ground on this piece. You got in there. I need one of those stickers.
Yeah, I was going to say. You got handed a stack of CHGO stickers.
You got in there. You got in there deep with the dad, and what was interesting to me is he's not a controlling dad as far as his actual football is concerned. He's more of a business dad trying to put his son in the right spot. He's not going to be calling up Shane Waldron or anybody around the Bears, how come you're not using my son this way? Because he didn't do that apparently in college and or in high school even.
Yeah, so one of his high school, and this is in the story, one of his high school coaches told me, he's like, yeah, he's around, but never once complained about anything they were doing. He lets the coaches coach. So, and even if you read Teddy Greenstein's book, which we've referenced many times on the show, and I quoted some of it in the story too because that's how good it is, but Teddy Greenstein in the book The Quarterback Dads with Derek Dooley, you know, it's very obvious that Carl Williams is going to do everything he possibly can to make sure that his son is set up for success at whatever the next step is. It happened when he chose to go to Gonzaga College High School in D.C. A lot of people, as this was described to me, because I don't necessarily know the D.C. high school scene, perfectly, but there's a school in Maryland called DeMatha that's like the Alabama of the area. But Gonzaga was more of like the Notre Dame or the Stanford that has the academics, and that was a very important piece of the puzzle. But also the offense that they were running as well, which apparently was more suited to college and the pros. So doing the homework on that, landing in a situation to have success to get to the next level. Okay, what's the next level? All right, we've looked at all these schools. Carl kept a spreadsheet with there's 4 categories and all these subcategories for every school that was recruiting Caleb Williams. And in the end, they choose Oklahoma, despite the fact that Spencer Rattler is their Heisman Trophy candidate. He knows he's not going to start day one with Spencer Rattler there. That was another big point that I ended the story with that was brought up multiple times. Like a big part of this to keep in mind with this idea that he's going to shy away from going to Chicago. They've never shied away from competition. He had to win the job in high school, and he knew he wasn't going to have the job to start at Oklahoma, and then he won out just because he was better when it was all said and done and had that amazing game in the Red River rivalry against Texas. So every step of the way, Carl Williams is going to do, the family's going to do their due diligence. So, because this was a big question of mine. Why hasn't this guy just gotten on Twitter and been like, I'm happy wherever I go? Because you could think that would be a good PR move. Because in some ways, this drama is not the best for him. But the best answer I've gotten to why that hasn't happened, and maybe the closest thing that happening was somebody from Caleb Williams' camp calling Colin Cowherd last week to be like, wait a minute, we don't want to be anti-Chicago here. It's just that they are doing their due diligence. And there probably is going to have to be some conversation at some point. If the Bears are intent on drafting Caleb Williams, they are going to have to
put their best foot forward and explain why this is a good spot for him.
Right. But at the end of the day, I'm not going to blame a father for wanting the best for his kid.
Yeah.
And
I think, too, like, yes, they want to make sure, too, as you mentioned in your story, Adam, that the situation in Chicago is going to put Caleb Williams in a position to succeed. Because how many quarterbacks have you seen actually go on to do great things in the city of Chicago? This doesn't happen. So for him, his dad, Carl, to want what's best for his child, but make sure that the situation in Chicago is going to be, again, fit that criteria that's needed, like, I get that. So I think it was, again, how you detailed it, like one of the concerns you have or one of the questions you want answered, is Carl Williams a problem? Again, he's a guy that wants what's best for his son, is going to look into everything to make sure that situation is right when he gets wherever he goes.
Well, and check out the piece, allchgo.com. Hoge does a great job with it. And I think whether you want him here or don't want him here, it's worth your time. Last one that I got for you on it was you went into Caleb not playing at the end of the season, backup quarterback. USC gets a huge win. They're going nuts on the sidelines. Now we finally became a team. And some people looked at it like, well, I weren't saying that when you were the quarterback, but it was that you dispelled that one. So I don't know, maybe you can jump into that part of the story.
Yeah, well, it's just he was there. Like, as it was pointed out to me, Caleb Williams was there. There were other guys that opted out that weren't there. They had lost 3 games in a row. And a lot of other players got more opportunity in that game because other players had opted out. And so, it was, to me, it was worded to me as like, it was much more likely this was just a bunch of young kids that got back on the winning track. And if anything, that would have been more directed at players who weren't there, not Caleb Williams, who was. And Caleb Williams was there. If you watch that game, and I did watch that game, he's there. He's cheering them on. There's no reason to think that all of a sudden there's like this big, thank God Caleb Williams isn't here anymore type of attitude in the team. So look, I hope you go check out the piece. We don't have to go through all of it. It's on allchgo.com. Again, it's out there for everyone to read. You don't just have to be a diehard. And, I think at the end of the day, there's some fair questions in here that even the Bears are going to want to have answered. In some ways, I think these two sides are going to have to recruit themselves, or in some ways, just to make sure that it's a marriage that makes sense. As by the way, we have Albert Breer sit down with us here on Radio Row.
We got 5 minutes with Albert, Hoge. Don't mess around. The man is busy.
Then we might as well get to it. As you might imagine, we're talking about Caleb Williams.
Yeah. There's be a lot of that next couple months, I'd imagine.
Yeah, but especially in the last few days and over the weekend, what we've been talking about is this whole idea of, any thought that he might not actually want to come to Chicago and what's actually true and what's not with that.
I think it's hard to tell, because what I've been able to ascertain, just as far as the stuff that's been floating around with him, is that he's actually a really good kid. his dad can be a lot. And I think that there's that part of it where it's like, okay, when you were talking, I mean, the really crazy stuff, right? Like the stuff about wanting equity in a team and all of these things that just aren't going to happen. A lot of that was coming from his dad. Now, the kid ultimately has control over his own process and what actually gets pushed out there and all the rest of it. So are they, like, does the kid feel strongly enough where he wants to shove his way out of Chicago into Washington, which is where he's from? We've seen it before. I mean, Eli Manning sort of used his dad that way, and Archie took all the bullets for him. So I wouldn't say it's impossible, but, just as far as what I know, and not what I think, what I know is that, his dad was behind a lot of the stuff that was out there, and a lot of this is going to kind of come down to what the kid wants, which makes it unpredictable because some of that noise that you're hearing out there wasn't really him.
Do you think the Commanders are strategizing Cliff with him, or do you think that's just who they want? Period?
Cliff loves Caleb Williams.
Okay.
Cliff said to me on the record that the comparisons between he and Patrick Mahomes, right, like all of that, he said it's eerie how similar they are. And Cliff, remember, was the one in 2017 who would tell everyone until he's blue in the face how Patrick Mahomes was much better than everybody thought. And so, yeah, I mean, I think, you line the whole thing up. Cliff's there, new ownership, looking to make a splash. Caleb Williams is from there. It wouldn't surprise me if Washington put together some sort of blockbuster offer to move up a spot and get Caleb Williams.
Albert, what have you kind of gained or learned about Justin Fields and maybe the interest that he is, garnered right now and how teams kind of view him?
I mean, I think he's viewed as a quarterback who A-plus person, really good leader, really good worker, really smart. Like, he checks so many boxes. There's still that thing where, does he see it fast enough? Mm-hmm. Does he need to see the receiver come open to throw him the ball? Can he throw with anticipation? Those are still the things 3 years later that you're looking at with him. So what it means is that you've got to build an offense a certain way for him. And are you willing to commit to him that way and build an offense that will work for him that might be a little bit different? Look, like it's worked before. Mm-hmm. Like the Eagles, for example, with Jalen Hurts, and I think this is probably the best example. That first year for Nick Sirianni, I think it was 6-7 games in, Sirianni gave up play calling, handed it over to Shane Steichen. They put in the Oklahoma run game. Right. And the Oklahoma run game was sort of what made Jalen feel more comfortable. They're doing the passing game now comes off of that run game, and now all of a sudden, you have something that you're building on, and it really wound up working. So it can work. It's just going to take that level of commitment. And whether or not you can find a team that's going to be willing to make that commitment is the question. His trade market, maybe a day 2 pick and then a day 3 pick on top of it, whatever that might look like. And I think it would have to be one of these teams that's maybe in the middle of the first round. This is the way I've sort of looked at it. Like one of these teams is in the middle of the first round, where it's like they don't love the second cluster quarterbacks, right? Like the guys behind Williams, May, and Daniels. And they're not close enough to go up and get one of the top 3 guys. Maybe it'd be one of those teams that would go and get him.
You did a lot of great work last year around the time that the Bears made the trade with the Panthers.
Thank you.
Well, you did. You were on top of a lot of things. Do you sense, and we're probably still early in this process, but do you sense anything that's different from the Bears side of this year? You know what I mean?
Versus last year?
Yeah, versus where they were at with Justin, and obviously the access to that they have this year to different quarterbacks than were available last year.
Yeah, I think it is a little different. I think last year, I would say just at this point here, right now, where we are versus where we were a year. I mean, forget how Bryce Young and C.J. Stroud and Anthony Richardson played. I would say the league in general has a higher opinion of this group than they did last year's group. Now, we all know what C.J. Stroud has done since, and phenomenal, right? Yeah. But this is a more highly regarded group coming out. And the other thing is, with Justin, you're now a year closer to that 5th-year option, and you're a year closer to having the price potentially rise on what it's going to cost to keep him. And that's a very real factor. You now have a decision to make, right, in May on whether or not you pick up that fifth-year option. And if you don't pick up the fifth-year option, then Justin's in a contract year. Whereas if you draft Caleb first overall, or you trade down and draft Drake May second overall, say, you've got those guys under financial control for the next 4 years. So you restart that clock. It allows you to probably build a little bit more aggressively around the young quarterback. With the flip side being, if you did trade out and did choose Justin, you can get another bounty of picks, and now you're going to be able to build aggressively in the draft around your quarterback.
Do you think the league looks at Caleb is here and May's here, or is it closer than that? I think so. Caleb didn't have his best year this year. Now that said, I think a lot of people would have said Luck was better in 10 than he was in 11 at Stanford, right? Mm-hmm. And a lot of that stuff can come down to what's around him. Luck didn't have Harbaugh his last year at Stanford, right? Mm-hmm. I believe early in his career he had Toby Gerhardt. He didn't have Toby Gerhardt at the end, right? So, and it's sort of the same with Caleb, where the circumstances were better for him his last year at Oklahoma and then last year at USC than they were this year at USC. That said, a lot of NFL people that I really respect think Caleb is a once in every few years type of prospect, right? Where it's, that Trevor Lawrence, John Elway, Peyton Manning, that tier, Andrew Luck, that tier, where there are very few players that are in that group, where it's this guy projects to be the type of guy who can carry a team. That's how Caleb's seen. I think Drake May is worthy of going first overall and would be first overall in some drafts, but he's just maybe a notch below that tier.
Yeah, interesting. Makes a lot of sense. We know you got to run. Thank you for sitting down with us. We really appreciate it. I know you got a full week of work coming ahead. Where should people follow everything?
You can SI.com. You got, I'll be doing all kinds of things around here too, so I won't waste your time with all of that.
Keep it rolling, SI.com. Yeah. We're rooting for you guys.
Absolutely. Thanks, guys. I appreciate it.
Appreciate it. Albert Breer joining us here on CHGO Bears Podcast. Definitely appreciate that. And meanwhile, we got a conversation with Jarrett Payton coming up here in a second as well, and want to make sure you are aware of everything going on with Game Time this week. And if you're thinking about going to the game,
come on out.
It's there for you.
Let's go.
Game Time is the fast and easy way to buy tickets for all sports, music, comedy, and theater events near you. And right now, all users get $100 off when they buy a big game ticket with code Vegas100 with killer last-minute deals, all-in prices, views from your seat, and their best price guarantee. Game Time takes the guesswork out of buying tickets. Of course, we love Game Time. I've used it multiple times, especially with concerts recently, and the fact that you can sort of gauge the whole market, compare it to what even might be out there for face value. You can get a great deal when you use Game Time. You're going to be able to see your view from your seat. And obviously, if you're thinking about going to the big game this weekend, use that code Vegas100. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Right now, all Game Time users get $100 off a big game ticket with code Vegas100. Terms apply. Just download the Game Time app. Use code Vegas100, VEGAS 100 for $100 off a big game ticket. Or if you're not going to the game, you can always use code CHGO for $20 off your first purchase. Download Game Time today. Last-minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed.
We are having a competition this week between me and Greg Braggs.
You're losing.
Right. Every guest that comes on this show, whoever gets him here, that's the competition. Braggs is taking a 1-0 lead, getting Albert Breer on here. Congratulations.
Good job, Greg.
Looking for a super offer for the Super Bowl 58. DraftKings Sportsbook has you covered. New customers can bet on the big game and turn $5 into $200 instantly in bonus bets. Every time your mic clatters like that, you lose your points. So now we're even. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now and use code CHGO. New customers can bet $5 to get $200 instantly in bonus bets only on DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of Super Bowl 58. With the code CHGO, the crown is yours. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER, or in West Virginia, visit www.1-800-GAMBLER.net. We love our West Virginia people. We love our New York people. In New York, call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY. In Connecticut, help is available. Problem calling 888 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. Please play responsibly. On behalf of Blue Hill Casino and Resort, 21 or over, age varies by jurisdiction, void in Ontario. Bonus bets expire 168 hours after issuance. See dkng.com/football for eligibility and deposit restriction terms and responsible gaming resources. If you're enjoying our content or just here because you're here, hit that like button for us being out here in Las Vegas. We appreciate it.
That's right.
I know we got Jared coming up at some point. I want to talk about my dream. Go ahead.
Yeah, that's towards the end of the show.
Right now, that's not a priority.
Well, what I want to do right now is just kind of summarize. I think we're going to be here all week. Everybody from the NFL is here. We got guys like Albert Breer just sit down like that. Great job, Braggs.
Gotcha.
Summarizing everything I learned from the story I wrote to what you hear from guys like Albert Breer, who are obviously well connected around the league. I think all these things are what's true right now, right? Mm-hmm. Okay. The overwhelming likelihood, at least that's believed around the league right now, is that the Bears will draft Caleb Williams, okay, and move on from Justin Fields. Like, if you're doing Vegas odds right now, since we're in Vegas,
right,
that's the favorite situation. Is it a done deal? No, it's not a done deal. Because Ryan Poles is going to do his due diligence on his side. He's going to hear what Washington might want to offer. I think we now know that. Washington probably wants Caleb Williams. There might even be, and if anything, for my story too, like the one thing I'm even a little nervous about, just thinking about, is like if there is one scenario where something's forced or whatever, it seems like the Commanders make the most sense. They're one pick behind, and if they're willing to go crazy with some massive deal, that might be hard for the Bears to turn down. Now, that being said, my early intel is that I don't think the Bears are as excited about Drake May or the other quarterbacks as they are about Caleb Williams.
Right.
That doesn't mean they're not willing to draft him, but I do think there's a gap there right now.
Right, because to me, that's what it comes down to. If you're going to trade off of one, it's because, to me, you're sticking with Fields. Because if you're looking at Caleb Williams and Drake May, and I'm not saying Drake May isn't talented, but to me, Caleb Williams is the guy you would take.
The most Bears thing of all time would be to drop out a one, so you don't draft Caleb, trade Justin, draft Drake May, and next year Justin will play Caleb in the Super Bowl and we'll have Drake May.
Right.
That would be the most Bears thing of all time.
Like, if you're moving off of one, you're keeping Justin and trying to get as many draft, because the whole point of that is to try to get as much draft asset in the future as you possibly can. I have a hard time believing they're going to move off of that because their evaluation between Drake May and Caleb Williams is that close, because I don't believe it is.
Well, Albert Breer was just saying, too, like, if, this Caleb Williams wasn't here in this draft, Drake May would be the number one overall pick because of how talented of a player he is. So maybe the Bears think there's still a gap between those two guys, but you're still getting, if they were to go that route, a talented quarterback.
Gets back to how Hoge started this. It depends on their evaluation. It depends on how the interviews go. What I think is interesting, the way I hear people talking about, the way Albert just talked about it, this is what everyone who's around it and is covering it and just talking to the evaluators, putting that all together and thinking that it's the most logical play is Caleb. But there's nothing coming from the Bears. People are just looking at the logic of what's going on.
Right.
So it's, you can that
and I'm not ruling out some trade scenario that does move the Bears off that pick.
Right.
But
you get a Herschel Walker.
I think it would be crazy. and I think, like, if you saw what Bill Barnwell wrote last week in just the numbers and the value aspect of it, like, he didn't think that Washington could offer enough for one spot that would even make sense for the Bears. So it would take Washington going crazy, basically to prevent another team from jumping over them. And in that situation, and this is something I had in my story too, you're jeopardizing the situation you're going to put Caleb Williams in as a rookie. Just look at what happened with Bryce Young. We're talking about draft capital that you give up throughout the majority of his rookie deal.
Right.
Potentially players that you have to throw in too. Like, if you're Washington, you want to give up Terry McLaurin too?
Right.
Like the Panthers gave up DJ Moore.
Situation Carolina.
So and then that gets back to the Caleb Williams camp and what we talked about with Carl. And Carl may be a lot, like Albert Breer just said, but like he's trying to do his due diligence to put his kid in the best position to get that second contract. He's always looking ahead. Well, if Washington's going to deplete all their resources while the Bears can take Caleb and, oh, by the way, draft another player 8 picks later and have everything lined up for the future, I find it hard to believe, and I think those that I've talked to find it hard to believe that when those situations are all laid out the way they are, that they're really going to get down to it and say, you know what, no. I want to go to Washington, and I'm going to strong-arm this because those that have been around Caleb Williams do not believe that's who Caleb Williams is.
And I take issue when people talk about the dads. You know, LeVar Ball, we went through this here, you know, in Chicago, and when we brought Lonzo in, you talk about Caleb Williams' dad. He set his son up on this path when he was 11 years old. We talked to Teddy Greenstein, 12 years old. Well, he's done a pretty dang good job of getting him to this point. That's a good father. LeVar Ball is a good father. And, you know, people want to try to villainize those kind of parents that have literally put them on this formula and this pathway, and it worked, and they've executed it. And now that they've gotten this point, you expect the dad to just say, all right, he's all yours. Yeah. No, he's going to be involved in his process. Caleb Williams doesn't have an agent. This is his circle. He's going to listen to the people he trusts.
Yeah, I mean, I could quibble with you and say that, well, Todd Marinovic's dad got him to the NFL.
Yeah, not all dads are created equally. I understand that.
But the point is that most cases,
this isn't that situation.
It's not. You get your kid to that far, you did some things right, period.
Now, where I have heard LeVar Ball's name come up, where this could matter potentially if you're the Bears. The thing is, you do not want the dad to be a distraction, though, once Caleb's on your team. You don't want a Carl Williams coming on CHGO every week. And by the way, we're open to that if you want it. Yeah. But if you're the Bears, you probably don't want that, where LeVar Ball was doing every interview possible and challenging like the Michael Jordan to beat him one-on-one and all this stuff. Right. But again, that gets back to my reporting on the story. From everything I've been told, that's not going to be a problem. Once the kid's on the team, he gets out of the way. He's not going to be in the way. So I think that's an important distinction to point out as well. All right. Should we get to Jarrett Payton?
I'm excited for this.
I'm feeling Jarrett. This is a good convo that we had with Jarrett about 8 seconds ago.
Everybody knows and loves Jarrett Payton, but he has a busy Super Bowl week every year. He's got live shows that he doesn't, but most importantly, there's this award called the Man of the Year Award.
Maybe you heard of it.
Yeah, that's become the most prestigious honor you can get in the NFL, and of course, has something to do with his father, Walter Payton, who's a familiar figure you might have heard of too. So we had a good, fun conversation with Jarrett Payton earlier. Myself and Mark Carman. We used to do a radio show with Jarrett, so it's always good talking to him.
We did one of the weirder named radio shows of all time, the Beat, which.
We did not name that show.
We love you, Todd Manley, forever and always, but that was not your best moment in time when you came up with The Beat.
The show or the name? Because you could argue the show.
It could be both, but I'm going with the name right now. The Beat was a little too close to, my 20s. So, at any rate, we can move on now.
Jarrett Payton. All right, well, the best part about Monday on Radio Row is you just kind of run into all your old friends that you see every year. Look at this guy right here.
My guy.
My guy's right here, boy. What's up, man?
You ready to go? Another big week?
Another big week, another Super Bowl, another Man of the Year nominee that's going to be put into our family of these winners. So I'm excited, but, we got bigger things to talk about.
You know what? I heard a rumor, a source told me. Did you hear Roger Goodell's press conference was invitation only this year?
I wonder if JP's got an invite.
He got an invite.
I wonder if he does.
Hoge, no invite.
I will be there, and probably we'll have some more stuff to talk about after that.
So, correct me if I'm wrong, but your dad played for the Bears, is that right?
Yes, he number 34. He was pretty good.
Yeah. Do you think he was happy that he had his career in Chicago?
Yes, he loved it.
Yeah, because that whole Caleb thing, like he wouldn't want to play for the Bears. Come on, man, that can't be true.
If you're a competitor, to me, you want to play anywhere. And for an organization that has been starving for the quarterback position and getting it right, if you feel like you're that guy, don't you want to come somewhere to Chicago and have kind of put it on your shoulders?
Speak to Caleb and just tell him if you win here, there's no better place to do it, right?
But everybody knows, man. I've always been pro Justin. That's how I've always felt. I feel like Justin with more talent around him, the right coaching, I feel like could get to that point where everybody wants him to be. But I think we're in a difficult situation where you have the first overall pick again, and you have a guy that could be a generational type player that I think it's hard for Ryan Poles to pass up on. And I don't know. I think you can go either way. Either way, I think you can be successful. I think it's hard when you pass up on guys like Deshaun Watson, Patrick Mahomes to do it again.
That's where I'm at, JP. Like, I feel like both options are good. I think
both.
The Bears are headed in the right direction either way. We probably shouldn't think about it this way, but you sort of have to if you're Ryan Poles. Like, what's the worst case scenario? And it's like, if you let Justin Fields go somewhere else, I don't know, is he really going to be an MVP? Like, are you going to look at it like Patrick Mahomes all these years later? Whereas with Caleb Williams, if you pass on him and then he goes somewhere else and then he's like, oh no, this is another Hall of Fame quarterback, that's to me like a situation you cannot have happen again.
But can we be real here in this situation? It comes down to it like this. You're going to push all your chips in. Is Ryan Poles really going to push all his chips in on Justin Fields? When that means if it doesn't work out next year, your job's on the line. With Caleb, to me, it gives you a little bit more breathing room to like really kind of cultivate this thing and create this thing. I always know that Poles loves more draft capital, man. You could set your team up a lot better if you traded the pick.
You've gotten to know Justin since he's been here. Where do you think his head's at in all this?
I think I'm more impressed with him and where his mind space is when it comes to all this, because it's hard. He dealt with this every single week. Or people talking about his job security and what his future was like, and he still found a way to get it done with the injury, all that stuff coming back. I think he deserves a fresh start. And wherever, if that's the case and they move on from Justin, I will be that person that will be cheering him on for his entire career. I want to see him do well.
I think all Chicago will be doing that. I don't think anybody has anything against just even the people that think that the best move is Caleb. What's your reaction to Luke Getsy landing in Las Vegas as their OC?
I saw him at the Bellagio last night.
I didn't.
I didn't.
I didn't know. That was a question that I asked Josh Friedman on GN Sports, like how long it was going to take for Getsy to get a new job. Like, would it take a long time? Clearly, people on the outside of
He got a lot of interviews.
I know he did. That's what I'm saying. People on the outside of Chicago really believe in what he's doing and giving him an opportunity. So I wish him nothing but the best. I just always felt that marriage between him and Justin just wasn't right.
What do you think about Shane Waldron, though, coming to the Bears?
I like Shane, man. I don't know him, but I know people around that were with him. My guy Clint Hurt, who was in Seattle. They have nothing but great things to say about him, but also as well, Kerry Joseph, quarterback coach, you guys know he's close to me. We played together in Toronto, and then we played against each other when he was in Saskatchewan and I was in Montreal. Dude's a baller, and when it comes to the way that he teaches and how he interacts with people, if you can't get knowledge from him, then you shouldn't be playing the game.
Were you the MVP of the Orange Bowl?
Yeah, dude. Do you remember when we had our old radio show? You literally found that out on Wikipedia. Yeah. You didn't know.
That's where he finds that. We call it Karmapedia. That's
what
he
finds out. What is going on?
Listen. I'm learning in the moment. It's embarrassing, but it's true. You keep on rising, JP. Excuse me. You keep on rising. We're proud of you. You're seriously.
What do you got going on this week? You got what do
Man
you want to plug?
We got Big Game Bound, which is on every single day on WGN.com. You can go there and click on to it. Find me on social, Payton Sun, PAYTON, and I think the biggest thing I'm looking forward to, I'm interviewing Eli Manning and Jason Witten for Nationwide coming up here on Wednesday night. So 2 Man of the Year winners. Looking forward to that. And then Thursday night, man, we got a new winner of the award that we're bringing into our family. Like, how cool is that, man? You can CHGO that all day. You know what I'm saying?
Does it hurt your heart where the Bears fans are?
No, Bears fans are good. We're good. We're okay. We need patience.
We don't have any.
We don't have that right.
We are angry.
We're
angry.
Can we talk about that then?
Yes.
Yeah.
So I want to know, I'm going to ask this question to you guys. Let's say Caleb is the pick. We have not changed up what we've done with this organization from developing quarterbacks. So we're basically going to be doing the same exact thing that we've done every single time of throwing a young quarterback in, hopefully that he's going to do what C.J. Stroud did, but we don't develop. And we look at teams in our division, just even looking at our arch rivals, what they've done. And I know it's been, you've had quarterback after quarterback, but they give quarterbacks time. We don't.
See, this is where I think this is a unique situation. Because one, I think Caleb's different.
Okay.
I think he's the type of QB that needs to play right away and is ready to play right away. And then second, I think we have the right staff now in place where they're not going to screw around like they did when Justin was around and try to put Andy Dalton in there and not even let Justin learn the offense right away and not put him in the right position to succeed. And oh, by the way, the defense should be pretty good. And the Bears, I don't know, I think even with a rookie quarterback, they could be a playoff team next year. That's what's different.
They were close to being a playoff team.
They should have been playoff. They could have been.
There's 3 games that they should have won, dude. We're talking about double-digit wins for a team that all of us are kind of like, what's going on here? They should have had 10 wins. Come on, man.
Remember when they should have beat the Broncos? The guy holding the camera here is the Broncos.
Man, get it. Ah!
Can you pick us both up with one arm?
No, I can't. But
he can.
I love Jarrett Payton.
No, we love Jarrett Payton. He's so much fun. Always got the most positive attitude of all time. No idea how he ever has as much energy as he does. It's the most ridiculous, impressive thing ever.
Biceps are huge.
How does he get the arms? You work out and look at you. I mean, you're like half his size.
Whoa, we don't have to take shots at me. Jarrett's just different.
He did play in the NFL.
His dad was his dad?
There's something called genetics.
Yeah.
He works harder than Nick. Let's just call it what it is. Moreano's going there. He's hanging out. He's doing videos. Peyton's just
Hey, I worked out at 5 a.m. today. So.
That's true. I didn't do anything. You're the man. You're the man. You're the man.
Well, we are back live from Super Bowl Radio Row. Welcome in back, I should say, to the CHGO
We didn't go anywhere.
Bears Podcast. We're presented by Factor Meal Kits. Make sure you head to factormeals.com/CHGO. Let me start that over. First time I'm reading the code this week. It's just straight up Chicago Bears 50. Use code Chicago Bears 50. Get 50% off. Factor's delicious, ready-to-eat meals. Make eating better every day easy wherever tomorrow takes you. Be ready with pre-arranged, chef-crafted, and dietitian-approved meals delivered right to your door. You'll have over 35 different options a week to choose from, including keto, calorie smart, vegan, and veggie, and more. And there's even more to enjoy with over 55 nutrition-packed add-ons that help make your weekly meal planning even more delicious. What are you waiting for? Get started today and have a feel-good week of meals ready to go. They got 2-minute meals, snacks, smoothies, and more. You can sign up and save. We've done the math. Factor is less expensive than takeout, and every meal is dietitian approved to be nutritious and delicious. They can be flexible for your schedule. Get as much or as little as you need by choosing 6 to 18 meals per week. Plus, you can pause or reschedule your deliveries anytime. They make it nice and easy for you. No prep, no mess meals. Head to factormeals.com/Chicago Bears 50. Use code Chicago Bears 50 to get 50% off at factormeals.com/Chicago Bears 50 to get 50% off. I'm going to be hungry all week reading those.
We wouldn't be out here without Factor, so we thank him greatly. And Nick, you have sampled it and have become better.
I'm not quite Jarrett Payton healthy, but Factor's going to help me get there. I love Factor. I also love Carman. Mark, did you know it's getting easier for businesses to switch to electric vehicles? That's something we can all get behind for the health of the planet and for the well-being for all of us who share it.
Exactly right, Nick. You think we'd be able to bring you this Super Bowl Super Bowl coverage without the electric grid that is evolving to meet your cleaner energy needs as we all move with confidence towards an electric tomorrow. Whether you have one delivery van or a whole fleet of shipping trucks, ComEd can help guide you to make the changes that make sense.
So, Mark, what do business owners have to do exactly to get on all those great perks?
They got to go to ComEd.com/clean, and they're going to learn more about the resources, fleet rebates, and infrastructure incentives available to help businesses go electric. If you own a business, do not wait. Start making your plan today to switch to electric vehicles. Good for business, good for the planet, good for all of us. go to ComEd.com/clean.
Mark, did you say ComEd.com/clean?
You bet your average size biceps I did. Go now and see how going electric connects us to a better way of doing business and a better future for generations to come.
I'm not wearing a shirt with sleeves tomorrow just for that.
Let's bring it on. Hey, maybe you'll go one of the Chippendale people that we saw out here on the strip.
Hi, guys.
Lawrence is here.
Yeah.
Well, he stole Braggs' mic. We don't know where Braggs went.
You guys are missing what Braggs is doing. He's just out there just staring and like he's hunting. It's amazing.
Well, I told
I
told him that if he was good after we came out of the Payton interview, he'd have a big time name sitting down with us, and he just took it on, and because he's the best, and he hasn't done it yet, but he's trying. He's efforting.
Which is also unnecessary because we have to end the show soon.
Yeah, and that's why I was
never
jumping
unnecessary.
in. I thought we could do some super chats, and since usually you can't hear me, we only have 4 mics. Since Braggs isn't here, here I am.
Rob,
what time do we have to be off here, by the way, producer?
I want to say
1:30.
like well,
we started late though, so I didn't know.
I mean 20 after, 30 after would be nice.
Okay, all right,
So,
just making sure.
let's hit some super chats. This is AJ Machani, $4.99. Why can't we let Caleb sit behind Justin Fields for 1 year? We lose out on a second-round pick, but we keep locker room intact. This is how Green Bay does it.
You don't do that with the number 1 pick, man.
Would the locker room be intact,
Yeah,
though?
I think the locker room would be the problem.
Yeah.
I think Caleb's different in the fact that, he's even more ready-made to play early than I think Patrick Mahomes was. I mean, I truly believe that. Don't confuse that. That's not me saying he's better than Patrick Mahomes. It just means that Patrick Mahomes was more raw than Caleb is now when he was coming out.
Look at him. He wants his microphone back. That's not going to do anything for you. It's the one on my head.
We're doing super chats. Would you like to sit in this seat,
Do you want this one, Greg? You can come on this side.
I'll give you the mic back, but you got to read the super chats then, and are you going to be able to see them? That's the question.
You could do this, Gregory.
Well,
but
this is a good one. This is from
keep going,
Big
Lawrence, while he gets ready.
Big Cram, $9.99.
I miss you, Big Cram.
I don't know if you have your screens up, but
I do,
he's changed his Avi. He says, rate my Avi 1 to 10, y'all. But back on Caleb, on 670 The Score, Colin said Caleb or Caleb's camp wants the pressure of a big city and wanting a city that cares. That makes me want to draft him even more.
Yeah.
Here, Brax, I'm going to give this to you.
Well, I think that's true. By the way, the photo of the photo is the shot of Carm sleeping on the plane yesterday. We need to establish this right now so Braggs understands this for the rest of the week.
I understand nothing.
Every time you touch that,
it's so loud.
It's you need to understand.
Just because you tell me something doesn't mean that I'm going to listen.
No, okay. I know, but let me demonstrate here.
Oh, that was perfect.
Oh, very graceful.
Yeah. I mean, law.
I didn't do.
It's part law. He can turn you off, but you also could be doing what Hoge just did.
No, I like your angle. Blame law.
Okay. So I would like to ask everybody a question. As I was sleeping peacefully on the plane yesterday, and Greg Braggs took a picture,
impressive.
which is now Big Cram's avatar of me sleeping, which is a mortifying picture. Is that a good teammate or just a terrible
person? You look like Emperor
person?
Palpatine.
Right, I look like Emperor Palpatine. Don't know who that is, but I think I do. Good, close enough. That's embarrassing.
Mm-hmm.
Why would you do that to one of your besties? I think that's I'd like to file a formal complaint.
We don't have an HR department, and Allie is not going to hear your complaints.
We tried to form one on the way over here this morning.
Allie is not going to hear your complaints.
Basically, everybody turned down the job because they're worried about dealing with you.
No one can look worse when their mouth is open sleeping. There's no worse look for anyone.
That was the most flattering of the 6 pictures I took, so you're welcome. And I could have done worse, like stuck a Cheeto in your mouth or whatever.
What were the other passengers thinking as you were doing this?
I think a couple of them didn't realize that I knew Mark.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
So, there were some looks. There were some looks.
Carm got yelled at in the credential line this morning for trying to take a revenge photo of Brad.
Yeah, it was a bad job.
I got yelled at for filming too.
That was a bad job.
Yeah.
No filming.
Credentials.
Okay.
You're going to want to
stay. This is the NFL world, man. There's rules.
You're going to want to stay tuned the rest of the week because I just got done talking with Ian Rappaport.
Okay.
And he said he's going to join us at some point here in the next couple of days.
All right.
You doubt me? Are you doubting me, Carl?
1,000%.
You doubting me?
1,000.
All right, let's bet on it. Let's bet on it.
Guys batting 1,000 so far.
Okay. Let's
Guys
bet on
batting
it.
1,000 so far.
I like a challenge.
Yeah.
I'm persistent. Maybe
Okay.
you didn't realize that when I sat next to you and got the job here. $20. What is that? Sterling pound.
It's Canadian.
CA.
Sterling pound, Canadian dollars.
It's just Canadian.
American Canadian dollars. $20.
20 Maple Leafs.
20 Maple Leafs. Maple Leafs. I'm sorry, guys, but crying when you lose and putting up a brick wall to coaches when facing adversity is a mental toughness issue and a huge red flag for an NFL quarterback in a huge market, no matter how you look at it. Great article, Hoge.
So thank you, SPR. I agree with you.
Look, some people are going to have that opinion. There's probably some hardcore football guys that are in NFL offices that are going to have that opinion.
Pouting-
It's certainly going to be a question that you have to ask.
Listen, if he closes down, if he shuts down when you're losing and is like that on the sidelines, that is something that he's got to get better at. The crying part I'm not worried about in the least. But the shutting down on the sideline, as your leader, you can't have that.
I mean, look, I think with maturity, too, he's going to learn as
Right.
he kind of gets into this.
Right.
Like, hey, there's a better way of expressing my emotions going about these things. And, yeah, he's still young, you guys. Like, we've all been there at that point. So I think as he kind of learns the game, he'll understand how to kind of handle his emotions there.
$4.99 for Andre Skinner. Greg, do you got it?
Yes, sir. What makes you guys thinking the Bears will get it right?
That's a loaded question.
I don't know if any of us actually think they're going to get it right.
We're praying they do.
Right.
I like
None
the
of us
coaching
know.
staff. I love the.
Yeah.
I mean, the coaching staff that they've put together now sets whether it's Fields or Caleb Williams to have success down the line. So I could point to that as being you're feeling more confident than you would had they not established the staff that
I mean,
they currently
everybody
have.
rails against this healthy environment to develop a quarterback, and Chicago's never been able to do that. Look at the coaching staff they've brought in. You can't cheer for it in one aspect and say look how it's going to help one quarterback, but say it's not going to help the other. And this cuts both ways. I don't care which way you think for whatever quarterback you prefer. They've brought in a good offensive coaching staff, guys that have had head coaching interviews, guys that have taken lateral moves to come over here to Chicago because it's an intriguing spot. They're the first team to have 7 wins with the number 1 pick heading into the offseason. A defense that's ascending, to help your quarterback. It's a complementary sport. You got to be able to play on both sides of the ball, or else that puts more pressure on the offense. So, yeah, I think this is a great spot for the Chicago Bears to be in. The one spot, and Carman's talked about this, they really got to retool that wide receiver room. And I'm not taking that for granted. Right now, it's DJ Moore and nothing else. So that is the one spot there's still an unknown. Everything else feels pretty good to this point.
Football CF Candy, $1.99. If Caleb only wants Cliff, why work with QB Collective?
See, this is exactly where stuff gets out of, assumptions get made that aren't exactly true. I just want to point out, and we heard from Albert Breer, Cliff Kingsbury loves Caleb Williams. A lot of people love Caleb Williams, by the way. That's because, despite what people want to believe about Caleb Williams, most of the people that work with him like him a lot. Okay, so that's important. That does not mean that this whole hire is Caleb's only going to want to go to Washington now because they got Cliff. They worked together for 1 year, okay? And yes, to the point of Football CF Candy here, he's been training with QB Collective for a long, long time. Shane Waldron has connections to that too. So look, this is not the first time, and I pointed this out in my story too, that teams are jockeying coaches to try to get in a position to please Caleb Williams. The Badgers failed miserably doing this. They hired Bobby Ingram a few years ago as their offensive coordinator who had ties to the family. It was a great move. It got them a legitimate seat at the table. Caleb Williams looked at Wisconsin hard. Obviously, he wasn't going to Wisconsin at the end of the day. And Bobby Ingram lasted 1 season there because Paul Chris got fired a couple months later, and the whole thing backfired. So, just because Cliff Kingsbury went to Washington doesn't mean this is an assumption that Caleb only wants to go there. Is it interesting? Did it raise some eyebrows that he was supposed to be here in Las Vegas and basically was at the finish line to join the Raiders, and then all of a sudden he wasn't? Yes. That's the type of, antenna raising in this whole saga that is certainly going to get attention for good reason, but it does not mean anything's a done deal.
By the way, I'm pretty certain that Luke Getsy did land in Las Vegas as their offensive coordinator, which A lot of Bears fans did not think he would get another chance to be an OC, and about 7 days later he did. So for those who want to put all the failures of the offense on Luke Getsy, I don't think that's right. And I'm not sure who's filming us right now, but I love this look right now. We are the best show here, right here. You stay there the entire time. It's giving me good energy. Okay. British Bear Phil Cundy.
4 cameras on Carm wasn't enough. The 5th came in.
That's
Right.
right.
Just gassed them up.
Yeah.
That's
We
right.
need even brighter lights.
Yes,
You're right.
What's
You're
up, guy?
I need all the lights.
Yep. What else? What else you got?
Phil Cundy singing "Love You,
Focus.
CHGO."
Get over here, Abraham. Get in here.
Legends
Get in here.
going on.
Get in here.
Go-
Got Abraham in here in the shot. What's up, man?
There we go.
What's up, Abraham?
Abraham, you're the man.
What is happening right now?
I'm only trying to be like you guys.
Thank you, Abraham.
Appreciate
Listen,
Just be like Nick.
I don't know.
Don't be like me or Carm.
I
for
feel like
sure.
Abraham's the key to getting wherever we need to go. Going on gut feeling from British Bear Phil Cundy, are the new coaching staff good enough to get the 2024
Chiefs.
Bears to close
Never
out
bet against the
those
Chiefs.
games when ahead?
Gotcha.
Thank you. Unlike this year, too many dropped wins.
There was way too much happening there for me to have any idea what was going
Are
on.
the new
I
coaching
thought it
staff
was
good
gonna
enough
win.
to get the 2024
They're look-
Bears to close out games when ahead?
He's saying, look, we blew a ton of games last year with the new coaching staff. Are we not going to do that next year? We have no idea, British Bear, but let's hope so.
Add more talent too.
I also think there was a learning curve there going on as well. I would like to think Matt Eberflus learned some things about how he called defensive plays and perhaps dropping Justin Jones into coverage on 3rd and 15s
Not a good idea.
in the biggest game of the year against the Cleveland Browns. He won't do that again and have the entire locker room want to kill him. I hope he learned from that. Anybody else there? Yes. Coming up next is Praven. Praven, you're the man. Finally, good to see you guys in the same time zone. All right. Hello from Cali, fellas. Have a great time in Vegas. Don't let Braggs gamble. 49ers. But that's funny that you bring that up, Raven, because Braggs played roulette for the first time last night.
That was fun to watch.
What'd you learn?
That it's quick. You can lose money quickly here. Oh, yeah, for sure. I mean, just getting my feet wet. It's day one, all right?
Why wouldn't I just put my chip on the middle ones and instead of just putting it on one number?
Don't Vegas shame
gamble.
Braggs.
Don't gamble shame. Don't gamble shame.
He's learning.
Yeah.
Listen.
I had to, it's been probably 12 years since I played craps. I had to go to one of those the virtual ones just so I could sit down there and read the rules again and play. And I came out on top $24. I felt good about
it took him a half hour to win $20.
You know what?
I'm trying
gonna
to win
buy
quick
you a beer
money.
with my
Thank you.
$24.
Thank you.
You're getting nothing.
Thank you. I'm trying to get the quick money. The Kari Blazen game, anytime touchdown. I'm not looking for the 9-leg parlay. I'm trying to hit big on the plus money.
Go talk to those people right over there. They want to talk to you. Find out who they have. I'm serious. Get up right now.
Let them do the show.
No, my biggest failure of today was Aiden O'Connell at one point walked by.
Yeah, how
And,
did
you
you-
know,
no.
I know, and I'm a Boilers guy. I was just,
How did that not happen?
Well,
Yeah.
they had an entourage. And he looked like he was going to something. So, but I might have been
Stevenson
able
guy.
to slide in there
You
as
would have been
a
good for the
Boiler
show.
guy. So that's my failure for the day. But we're working hard here. It's a lot of fun. A lot to do, lot to cover, a lot of people to try to bring on for you guys. So excited for the week.
Right.
Next super chat, you guys.
we got more.
WFM. Josh Allen said he literally vomits before all games. Does that mean he can't handle the NFL?
Right.
LOL.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
I vomit every time I do a show with Mark Carman.
You can't handle it. You're fired. Next. Chubbs. Chubbs 82, $5. Caleb Williams is going to be the draft pick. Saying anything is delusion. Everyone knows it except for a portion of our fan base. Thank you, Chubbs.
Just to paint the picture, you just yelled out Chubbs and about 20 people looked at you.
Well, we are
Appreciate you, Chubbs.
We are in Vegas. Ira Jameson. What's up, Ira? No one said anything bad about Michael being a super competitor and crying after winning the title on Father's Day after the Father's
That's
Day.
a little different. I mean,
Well, right. He just won the title, Ira. He also cried in '91.
And his dad was.
And his dad passed away.
Yeah.
But it's okay to cry. That's the bigger part.
just your reaction to that. Yeah, okay.
So.
All right. Was that the
whatever.
last super chat?
Don't cry shame.
Right now?
Okay?
Los mas.
Sometimes people got some tears let out. Don't cry
There's
shame.
one more topic we got to get to. If
Uh-oh. I'm scared.
we have two more super chats. I'm
Two
sorry.
more super
Victor,
chats.
our friend Victor Cruz, Bear for life.
Yeah.
$4.99.
How much more difficult does the decision of taking Williams #1, even though DJ says he'd have Fields over Williams in May? No more difficult.
Yeah, DJ's going to support he's going to support Fields. I mean, that's nothing new or crazy.
Well, it's like Bears fans saying, like, Fields is the quarterback of my team, and that's who I support. If Caleb's the quarterback of my team, that's who I'll support. Something tells me the players in the locker room, to an extent, will fall the same way. That isn't to say that Caleb's going to have to earn the locker room's trust and respect. Justin already has that, so not dismissing it, but they're not going to vilify Caleb Williams for something he can't control if the Bears pick him. British Bear Phil Cundy, $5 pound sterling, England, Canadian dollars. Does Eberflus have anything more up his sleeve? I will let you know what I learn when the Bears come to London. Love you guys. Eberflus.
One of my goals this week is to get London represented on this show.
It's a good idea. It's a good idea. It's a good angle.
My guy, Will Gavin, who you make friends down here over the years with Super Bowl, and Will's awesome. He does a lot of good work in London, and he's usually around there. I haven't seen him yet, but we'll try to get him on the show at some point. So I guarantee you people watching the show from the UK know who Will is. So we'll get him on at some point. All right. Can we talk a little stadium to close out the show? Because we haven't really had a chance to get into this. And there was an interesting development last week with Crane's Business reporting that all of a sudden the lakefront has become the focus point.
Carm's excited.
Carm lost his mind. He refuses to accept that there's any politics being played here whatsoever with any headline that ever comes out on the stadium.
Well, apparently, maybe that is going on. That there is some there is some pressure being applied to Arlington Heights, and that $100 million difference in the evaluation of the property and the taxes and whatnot. And so maybe, perhaps, the Bears are not fully serious about building a stadium in the south parking lot, but it's a lot closer to happening today than it was a year ago.
I agree.
So
I agree.
Do the Bears, look, I get it. The Bears spent a ton of money, $192 million of money, which, that's more money than all of us are going to make in our lifetime, and by about $191,500,000. It's a lot of dough. But the point is that, do the Bears really, is their goal in life to be some like real estate landlord for all this over? Or do they just want to have a sweet stadium?
No, if they build downtown, they'll sell the land. But the problem with that is this: there's always been this assumption, the Bears can flip the land and maybe they'll even make a profit. But the problem is that if this new sticking point with how that land is valued, it's could theoretically apply to someone else trying to buy the land. It might have actually devalued it a little bit, unless, which once again gets back to the politics, because if you actually look at how their tax assessors valuing that land right now, it makes zero sense. So they actually demolished the buildings on it, and somehow the value went up. Okay, politics. So this is why the Bears have to play their own politics. I do agree, though, with the idea where back when it was Mayor Lightfoot and Ted Phillips not talking at all and releasing ridiculous statements about beating the Packers instead of, actually working on a relationship.
Greatest mayor of all time, loved it. That was amazing.
It was dumb.
Really bad. Complete idiot, but very entertaining.
It was entertaining.
You should work about getting a pass rush. Don't worry about this. Okay,
so
Lori.
Both of those two figures have now changed drastically. We now got Brandon Johnson as the mayor, and we got Kevin Warren running the show on the Bears side of things, who has got a history of building stadiums in a city, in a metropolitan area. And trust me, I know a lot about what went down in Minnesota, where they actually ended up with two stadiums in Target Field and U.S. Bank Stadium, something that 15, 20 years ago would have never, ever, ever, ever seemed possible up there. And now all of a sudden in Chicago, we're talking about, wait a minute, the White Sox are going to have a stadium and the Bears are going to have a stadium? What is going on here?
Everyone's getting a stadium.
So, look, I don't know how much of it is real. To me, the biggest piece of reporting that was in that Cranes piece last week that caught my eye is this little loophole that apparently got put into the Illinois Sports Facilities Association that changes how changes how money can be bonded and put out to fund these stadiums. Whereas apparently it used to be a roadblock, and now they changed that. And that's where especially Jaron Reinsdorf is trying to get in here with his new stadium opportunity, and apparently the Bears are looking at it too. So from a financial standpoint, that creaks the door open even a little bit more to something I never would have thought was possible a year ago.
You know, Mark, when I first was reading that report, I'm like, man, Mark's going to get his way. But again, there's a lot that goes into this because obviously they want to look, if you're Kevin Warren with that difference in money, you're going to keep your options open. You're going to talk. You're going to get into seeing what it can look like in the city of Chicago. But I remember reading it, I'm like, Mark.
Thank you. I'm glad that I was your first thought, Nick. I appreciate it. Look, stadiums are better in cities than they are in suburbs. I don't mean to be saying anything over the top here, but that's how I look at it. And the Bears belong on the lakefront. A sweet stadium built that could have Final Fours there would be incredibly amazing. A Super Bowl. I mean, it's awesome to be out here in Las Vegas. But imagine 2036 when Greg Braggs is 63 years old and he's looking for guests as we try to as we have a Super Bowl in Chicago. I like that vision. I think that'd be a great thing. Let's go. Yes.
By the way, Seth Crane here with a $100 super chat.
Wow, Seth. Thanks, brother.
Here's a hundo. Bet it on black.
I lost $100 yesterday betting on black.
Did you?
Well, a bunch of different colors and numbers and evens and odds.
Okay.
Virtual roulette. I was up $250 though. And then
I'm putting money on black.
Appreciate
because of that, but that's super nice of you,
The
man.
dad of this show needs to control the children here and tell them to stop playing roulette.
Yeah, you could do red or black. That's a 50-50. 48.9, whatever it is. $5 from Eric Harshberger. Braggs is a 10 on the Braggs swag Marco meter. Meter. Macro. That's what I said.
Macro meter.
You said Marco.
Oh, I'm sorry. Macro meter. Braggs with the swags. You like the outfit, Eric? I like it too.
Eric's picture's pretty funny too.
I mean, it got a lot of reaction this morning. Can I talk about my dream, or do we got to go?
No, we can do the dream real quick, and then we can go. Apparently, one more super. Another from Victor.
Victor Cruz. I'm not the salsa Victor Cruz, but you guys can pretend I am, so my super chats feel more special.
Well, that's exactly what I'm doing.
Yeah.
We do know you're not really Victor Cruz, but we want you to be Victor Cruz.
Victor Cruz is here this week if we want to run him down.
Is he really?
He is.
Oh.
100%.
Well, can we get him on the show so other Victor Cruz can send super chats at the real Victor Cruz?
We can get Victor Cruz.
That's
we absolutely can if you'd like to do that. I will set my mind.
We might
on
actually have to create a guest meter, like a scoreboard to put on the screen here the last 4 days. Yeah. This is there's more work for you, Lawrence.
Well, would you like to talk about who we're starting the show with tomorrow? Or would you
Robbie Gold.
Robbie Gold kicks off tomorrow.
Big time.
Would you like to talk about what other former Bears and current Bears we have coming up later in the week?
Well, we know TJ Edwards is going to be around here. We believe we're going to talk to Cole Kmet. That one's not set in stone, but he's kind of, I don't know if you know this, but he knows us here at CHGO.
Been on the show a couple times.
So he's been on the show a little bit, so we feel relatively confident we'll see Cole at some point.
I'm excited about that. Former Bear, Amir Smith Marset.
Yep.
Come on in, Gerard Whitley.
What's happening right now?
Come on, sit down, Jared.
Hello.
Hello.
So Jared calls the Super Bowl.
Okay.
Australia.
Oh,
wow.
You do the
call the
play-by-play
Super
for
Bowl.
us.
I do. So this will be our 7th Super Bowl.
This is the greatest
this is
guest we've
amazing.
ever had in CHGO history. First of all, my dream in life is to go to the Australian Open, so there's that.
You must.
Okay, and I also want to have like a kangaroo for a pet. Can I do that? Is that a
Don't think that's a possibility.
That's not a possibility. Wouldn't that be cool? To have a kangaroo that would like be your buddy. Hoge, I'm serious, and I don't know what.
I don't think aren't kangaroos kind of mean?
They can be.
Yeah.
I don't think you want a kangaroo in the backyard.
I want a nice kangaroo.
Can we ask him about calling the Super Bowl?
Yeah, you can do that. Go ahead.
Okay. So you've been doing this for 7 years now?
Yes, yeah. Our first Super Bowl was the Patriots and the Eagles in Minnesota. So the NFL has been, since I was a kid, William the Refrigerator Perry, that's sort of where it grows from in Australia, that era. And then over the past 10 years, it's become more and more mainstream. And we took on radio rights. So SEN is the sports station across Australia. And I call their major sports, Australian rules football, Cricket is our national sport, and we added the Super Bowl to that. So we like to take our Australian audience to the biggest single day of sport of the year, and we recognise that as the Super Bowl.
I just had a light bulb go off in my head. I think I came on your guys' show a few years ago in LA.
Yes, that's right.
Yes, it's nice to see you again. Sometimes, this is what I'm talking about. The first day of Radio Row, we got to reacquaint ourselves with everyone again. Well, thank you for sitting down. So it's funny how many times we actually hear that in Chicago about the 85 Bears, whether it's Walter Payton or Refrigerator Perry, of like how much that kicked off the international movement of the NFL growth. And they made some trips, right? They went to London that year. Jarrett Payton has that famous photo of his dad, just like I think at the airport there or something like that. And I don't know, it's just interesting to hear you say that because it definitely seems like that was like sort of the start of it.
Yep, so I guess the iconic age, because Refrigerator is such a great nickname, isn't it? And so he was a big presence. Bill Parcells and Phil Simms, New York Giants, and then the Joe Montana 49ers. So I'm 49, and people my age, there's a critical mass of San Francisco fans in Australia because of those years of Joe Montana. And then the younger brigade are very much with Brady, so there's a lot of Patriots fans. But you don't have to go too far in Melbourne, my hometown, to see youngsters wearing Pat Mahomes shirts at the moment. And I guess this is the globalization, is you'll see Steph Curry jerseys and Pat Mahomes shirts on the streets of Melbourne for kids who love sport.
NBA or NFL more popular in Australia?
I reckon it's a close run thing at the moment. So the best measure I could give you is there's a weekly study done in our media as the number one event that's covered. Politics, social life, sport, and after last year's Super Bowl, the number one event of that week covered in the Australian media and absorbed was the Super Bowl by a big margin. And kids are so literate on US sport. That's where the basketball culture really rises from. So I would say over 20 NFL, under 20 NBA.
With your career, having been part of some 7 Super Bowls, what's been your favorite moment? What's been just the highlight of your...
The strip sack of Brady in that first one.
Yeah.
So it was actually I'd moved radio stations. That was my first live sports broadcast. Wow. And Brady got strip sacked, and we gave and he sat there and went bereft on the field. Tom Brady bereft on the field. And as it turns out, Eagles fans took that phrase on and had T-shirts made up. They had the silhouette of Brady, and they used bereft on the turf. So that right at the start, that was a great moment. And then we've been lucky. Super Bowls have been great, haven't they? What was it was a Jet Sting Wasp, that play that Mahomes to Tyreek Hill? To start the run in the fourth quarter the last time they played the 49ers. Our broadcast position was in the end zone, and in front of us was just a huge contingent of Chiefs fans. And you could see progressively the burden of history as their shoulders were slumping and they were going to get beaten. And then that play changed the whole dynamic in front of us, and it changed the whole dynamic on the field. So sort of instantly iconic. A brilliant moment to be able to call.
So I don't know what you were like as a kid, because we just met 5 minutes ago, but you're considered like the voice of Australia sports. I mean, that's got to be a crazy place to have gotten to in your life.
It is. So when I was growing up, I imagine just like all I wanted to do was be a sports broadcaster. I didn't want to play. I wanted to be a broadcaster. And I'm incredibly lucky as we have in Melbourne, which is my hometown, we regard that as the sporting capital of not only the country but of the world. We have the Australian Open every year. So the men's final that Sunday night is one of the great nights of world sport. We have the Melbourne Cup, which is our iconic horse race. It's a public holiday. 100,000 people gather on course for it. It's said to be the race that stops the nation. I've had the privilege of calling that. Our grand final day with the AFL is 100,000 people at the MCG, which is our Coliseum. And there's nothing quite like that in Australia. And then in Test cricket, we have Boxing Day. The Boxing Day Test match starts, so the day after Christmas, and it's a huge cultural gathering at the ground for a day of cricket immediately following our celebrations. So we have those 4 iconic days of sport annually, and I get to cover them all.
That's amazing.
That is crazy.
That's a good job.
Well, thanks for stopping by. We really appreciate it.
It's great to see you.
And yeah, you too. Enjoy the game and have a great call.
Are the Bears ever going to be any good again?
We're
hopefully.
We're eyeing New Orleans next year.
You will see the Bears in New Orleans next year.
I hope so.
You're going to be calling some quarterback to be named later in New Orleans.
We would love the Bears to be successful again, those of us who grew up with that era.
We're 360 some odd days to that game. Let's
Terrific.
go.
Thanks so much for stopping
Thank you so much.
All right, there we go. That was cool.
That was awesome.
You're now down 2-0.
He's still here. Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
That's 2-0. Okay.
Yeah, you got a lot of work to do.
All right. You can say goodbye now if you want.
Yeah, we do have to. Do you need to do your dream?
No, we can talk about it
yeah.
tomorrow.
Yeah.
It's fine. Or what's happening right now?
What's up? Sure. Oh, okay. Yeah. Yeah.
We'll
Might
keep
as well.
going.
We
Never
can
mind.
yeah.
Let's
Never
go.
stop here.
See, as Matt Berry sits down with us. The great thing about our show is we can just kind of keep going. We don't have to, we don't have to stop at any time.
Headphones are still warm. It's very exciting. Definitely clean. Yeah.
How first of all, how you doing? Early in the week?
I'm good.
Yeah?
I'm good. It's early. It is.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm here through the game, so it's gonna, it's an endurance run. It's an endurance run for sure. So I'm pacing myself.
We like to talk about quarterbacks a lot in Chicago.
I would think so.
I don't know if you know that. I guess we'll spin this to a fantasy perspective just a little bit.
We can talk whatever.
Yeah, I know. Well, okay. Give us your thoughts on Justin Fields, because he's still a pretty viable fantasy quarterback, but
He's a great fantasy quarterback. The question is whether he's a franchise quarterback, and you guys, meaning the Bears, are obviously this is like one of the great debates, right? Because you've got a viable NFL quarterback. Justin Fields is a viable NFL quarterback, but is there like a franchise-defining quarterback next? Right? We've seen this before, right? I mean, you think about the Colts. They had Peyton Manning, but they had the number one pick, and here's Andrew Luck, right? It's a little bit different because of where they are in their careers. We're talking about Cliff Kingsbury, because I'm a Commanders fan, so I was just on Washington radio, and they're asking me about that, and I said, people forget Kingsbury, like the history has not been kind, but at the time, Josh Rosen was considered a very high prospect coming out of college. He was a top 10 overall pick. No one looked at the Cardinals like, why'd you take Josh Rosen, right? And then, he struggled his rookie year. They fire the coach. They bring in Kingsbury, and Kingsbury's like, I'm drafting Kyler Murray number 1 overall. And everyone was like, whoa. You used a top 10 overall pick on Josh Rosen. He's only been in the league 1 year. Shouldn't you be able to fix him and everything like that? And Kingsbury was like, no, I'm going with Kyler Murray. And obviously history has proven that was the correct decision. So obviously Justin Fields is not Josh Rosen. Justin Fields has played at a very high level. But, if the current management thinks Caleb Williams or Drake May can be Mahomes, can be Josh Allen, can be, one of these, defining quarterbacks, it's a fascinating thing.
We're asking everybody this question this week, so we'll put you on the spot. What would you do with that number 1 pick if you were the Bears?
If I was the Bears, I actually think I would trade. Again, I haven't done all the scouting that I'm sure they're going to do, right? This is what I do in the offseason. I think if I was the Bears, I think you could get such a haul. It is such a deep draft, not just at the quarterback position, but at so many other positions that I think I would try to trade down a little bit. The truth of the matter is as a Commanders fan, I'm annoyed because they hire Cliff Kingsbury, and so everyone's like, oh, Caleb Williams. I'm like, well, Chicago's got to go along with that.
Yeah.
I think if I was the Bears, I would probably make the Commanders pay a ransom to get up and draft Caleb Williams, and then you move to 2, and you've got whatever else comes along with that. And you're probably just fine with Drake May or Marvin Harrison Jr. or there's any million of other combinations you could do there.
Super interesting if the Bears went that route. Trade out, maybe even trade out again. And just build the whole nation here. Go ahead, Nick. You had one question?
Yeah, no, I think just with the whole trading out and building around the quarterback, just how you view it with Justin Fields, and still I think has more capabilities that he still can reach. Like, is that still an option?
Yeah, I mean, I don't. You know what I mean? I feel like, not every quarterback is ready-made from moment one.
Yeah.
Justin Fields, to me, has shown, whether it's with the Bears or not, Justin Fields has shown enough to me that this is somebody that is a starting NFL quarterback. And he's somebody that has succeeded at a high level, obviously in college, and there have been flashes
there have been games in the pro, like, again, as a Commanders fan, I think about the Thursday night game where he, came in and just completely lit us up, right? DJ Moore is the first real wide receiver he's had, all due respect to Darnell Mooney. You finally gave him a number one wide receiver. He's changed coordinators a couple of times, like the coaching staff. There's been some turmoil, everything like that. Like, I don't know. It's a little too. It is too early to bail on Justin Fields as a quarterback. Whether it's too early to bail on him in Chicago, maybe a change of scenery does him better and does the franchise better. But I'm a Justin Fields fan. I think that kid can play, especially when you think about this NFL. Like, what was it, 65, 67 different quarterbacks? Tim Boyle started 3 games in the NFL this year, guys. Tim freaking Boyle. Joe Flacco started a playoff game.
Yeah.
Joe Flacco was on his couch 2.5 months ago, and he started a playoff game. Like, quarterbacks are so hard to come by, and, anyway, so it'd be interesting to see, right? And now, obviously, there's going to be a new offensive coordinator, obviously, with Getsy in Las Vegas.
You sound like a Commanders fan that wants Caleb Williams, so keep talking about Justin Fields. It's a good strategy.
Exactly.
I
think you guys should build around Justin Fields. I think you should trade down. Yeah.
Where can fans find all your great work this week?
Yeah, NBCSports.com, RotoWorld.com. We're doing Fantasy Football Happy Hour live from Radio Row here all week long at noon Eastern. But obviously available on demand on Peacock, on the NBC, on NFL YouTube channel, and, of course, wherever you get podcasts. So we're having a lot of fun talking to people.
Matthew Berry, thanks so much for stopping by.
Thanks
Appreciate it.
brother.
All right,
Go Bears.
Yep.
All right,
guys.
there is Matthew Berry ending a great first day here on Radio Row. I think Braggs is the MVP. You're going to have to admit it.
How many guests did we? Like, there have been so many people.
I lost track already. I lost track.
Out of nowhere, we went Australia right to Matthew.
There will not be a more awkward moment though in this entire week of Rags just putting some random guy from Australia in the chair and not telling us who he is.
It was great.
And then making it even more awkward. No. Let me finish talking. Let me finish talking. And then making it even more awkward is the fact that I actually knew that guy and had been on his show before too. So we've already topped it. Most awkward moment of the week right there. Listen, there will be more, though, but that'll be number one.
I execute. You said, I want an overseas angle. Full disclosure, when I saw them over there at their table, I thought
never
it was
asked for any of this.
I thought it was a London. I thought it was a London flag, but it was the Australian flag because I'm a complete moron.
Close enough. I'm
Close
with you.
enough. We
I
got
support
it.
that.
And then he introduced himself.
The
when we got to
London
talking.
flag?
Listen, man, I'm not a flag expert. I'm okay. Just relax. And he's a nice guy. So
he was awesome.
I said, come on over here. Let's hang out.
That voice is straight iconic, man.
Oh my God, it's amazing hearing him.
Gregory, we owe you lunch. You did great work.
I'm not. Put that in your Twitter bio. I'm not a flag expert. What was that? One more super chat. I don't know if anybody can see it.
Nick can see it.
And then we got to get out of here because other shows got to get in here, and I got to go stop by with the DMVR guys. I'm like,
yes.
20 minutes late.
We got a $10 super
Hoge.
chat from SCO Elite in quotation marks without an O-line nor weapons, having his name Justin Fields in NFL record book and cleats in NFL Hall of Fame, waiting on him all in his first full season last season as starting QB.
There you go.
Hey, if you're new to the channel, hit that subscribe button. We greatly appreciate it. And, of course, if you become a diehard, we are going to become best friends. We give you all the value with our merch, with our Discord channel, where you get to become best friends with the greatest people on earth, with our takeovers, with everything else that we do.
We'll give you Mark Carman's cell phone number.
Our Bears 100, which is evolving as we get ready for the draft. That's behind the paywall that you get. And it's a great way to support us if you enjoy the program, so we thank you so
100%.
much. Hit that subscribe button, become a diehard. We're back tomorrow.
Follow all our social channels. We got a coverage from opening night over at Allegiant Stadium tonight. We will
Oh, boy, it's going to be a big night.
bunch of content from that going up late tonight. And then, of course, some of that we'll bring to tomorrow's show. Got another day lined up with a bunch of guests tomorrow, including Robbie Gold kicking off the show tomorrow.
Braggs brought his backpack today. He's got 3 changes of clothes between now and then. The guy brought a suitcase and 2 others. One of them weighs 75
I'm
pounds.
getting a little sweaty from all this
6
moving around.
pairs of shoes, he said.
If
6
pairs. If I had a Fitbit on
More
the
than
amount
me.
of steps I've taken this morning.
Thank you to Jarrett Payton, Albert Breer,
Yes. Matthew
Berry,
Whitley. Gerard
Gerard
Whitley.
Whitley.
Gerard Whitley.
4 guests in show 1.
Nice job. I think that was it. I
Got
think we
you.
covered it.
Let's go. Big week. big week. Come on. We're going to do it. We're going to be pals. We're going to be amigos.
Thank you to Factor Meal Kits sponsoring us all week long. Go check them out. I'm hungry.
Yes.
I'm going to go get some Factor right now if it's around here. We'll see you tomorrow.
We all silly like the mayor.